6, chapter 6, verses 5 and 6, he says that we should not serve the Lord with eye service as men pleasers, but as bond servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. You see, a man pleaser cannot be a servant of Christ because you're so concerned with what is somebody else thinking that you're not concerned about what he is thinking. And those two just don't mix. So when I'm more concerned about what the Lord thinks than what someone else thinks, do you know what happens? Well, when a man's ways please the Lord, even his enemies are at peace with him. Now, what does that say about your friends? If you're serving the Lord, I'm guaranteeing you, you're going to have relationship because you're going to be pleasing him, and you will not be doing it to get the approval of someone else. Paul said in 1 Thessalonians 4:1, as he instructed the church there, he said, "Brethren, we urge you and exhort you in the Lord Jesus how you ought to walk and to please him." And so throughout the epistles, you see this message over and over again. Please him, and don't try and please men. If you are walking in love, if you're walking according to God's commandments, well, you will be very pleasing automatically to, well, other Christians, and to those that do not know the Lord. You will be kind of a thorn in their side because you are living to please the Lord. Jesus said of his own life in John 8:29, he said, "I always do those things that please him." And that was his motivation, and that is what should be your motivation. So is that your motivation this evening? To please the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love the Lord with all your mind, your soul, your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that'll take care of it. That'll satisfy. Now, if I struggle with this issue of pleasing men, then I will not really speak up very often about my faith. And this is a problem because I will be concerned about what people think, how they're going to respond. And so this should be a good thermometer for you. And that's really where the fear comes from of sharing with others, because you're concerned about rejection. Aren't you? I've felt it, experienced it myself many times. And that rejection is a real thing. I mean, when somebody mocks you and makes fun of you and then looks to try and find some issue or error in your life to point out the hypocrisy in your life, and I mean, that's not a fun experience, is it? And yet that's why we are silent. But it basically comes down to, I am more concerned about their opinion than I am about God's opinion. That's the bottom line. And so when I say, Lord, I want to please you with this, and you know what? I'm really more concerned about what you think, what your concern is here, than even my own concerns, and whether or not this person is even going to end up liking me or not. I want you to like me. I want you to be pleased with me. And I'm telling you, that'll give you a boldness to share your faith with people that you'll stand back and you go, wow, something is happening here. Something is changing inside of me, because I'm more concerned about him than I am about them. In 1 Thessalonians 2:4, Paul there said this. He said, "We have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. Even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but God, who tests our hearts." Now notice that he says he couples there together being entrusted with the gospel and then declaring it to others, not being concerned about whether they please people, but whether God will be pleased as he tests their hearts. Now this is important because every one of us is entrusted with the gospel. You have been entrusted with a message of life, with a message that can save someone from eternal destruction. That's pretty powerful. I mean, it would be like somebody telling you, you know, I just saw somebody put poison in Lopez Lake. And you have that information. You have the only means of transportation to go tell somebody about it. And you just go home and go to bed. You've been entrusted with a message that could save multitudes in our community. But if you don't tell anybody about it, you don't tell the message to someone who can do something, then you just allow them to die. And basically, when we are silent, that's what we're doing. We're just saying, I'm going to allow you to die. And that's not loving someone. Think about it. And I take that as an illustration that should motivate you, because God doesn't want them to die. He is anything but wanting to see somebody perish. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe would not perish, but have everlasting life. There's the heart of God. So may you share that message with boldness with anyone that you can. When you have the opportunity, ask the Lord to give you that grace.